On the night of June 5, 1944, the German soldiers stationed along the coast of Normandy were not tense with fear. They were tired, they were bored, and most dangerously, they were convinced nothing would happen. For months, Germany had been expecting an Allied invasion. Every radio message, every radar signal, every rumor pointed to it. But each time the alarm was raised, nothing followed. False alerts had become routine. German radar operators that night noticed unusual movement over the English Channel, strange blips, unusual air activity. But similar readings had appeared before, often caused by Allied deception tactics or weather disturbances. The German High Command believed the Allies were still waiting. They believed the real invasion would strike Pas de Calais, the shortest route from England. Normandy, in their view, was a secondary option, too far, too exposed, too obvious. That belief shaped every decision. Many senior officers were absent from their commands. Some were attending training exercises, others were on personal leave. The most critical absence was Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commander of coastal defenses. Rommel had returned to Germany to celebrate his wife's birthday. In the bunkers overlooking the beaches, German soldiers passed time quietly. Some played cards under dim lights, some smoked, some wrote letters home, describing another uneventful night. The Atlantic Wall stood in front of them, concrete bunkers, barbed wire, steel obstacles. It looked strong. It looked permanent. What they could not see, hidden by darkness and fog, was the largest invasion fleet in human history already moving toward them. Shortly after midnight, scattered reports began arriving at German command posts. Paratroopers had been spotted inland. Explosions were heard behind defensive lines. Communication cables were suddenly cut. At first, these reports were dismissed. German doctrine expected such actions as diversions. Small airborne landings were believed to be designed to confuse defenses before the real assault elsewhere. Local commanders requested permission to mobilize reserves. The response was hesitation. As dawn approached, naval artillery thundered across the coast. The sea itself seemed to explode. Shells slammed into bunkers and trenches, shaking the ground violently. The German defenders were stunned by the scale. This was not harassment. This was not reconnaissance. This was an invasion. Yet even now, decisive action was delayed. The German armored divisions stationed inland could not move without authorization from Adolf Hitler himself. Hitler believed releasing tanks too early would expose them to a larger, unseen landing elsewhere. And Hitler was unreachable. By the time approval finally arrived, Allied forces had already begun landing in massive numbers. German machine gunners opened fire relentlessly. Some landing craft were destroyed before reaching shore. Entire units were pinned down under heavy fire. From inside the bunkers, German soldiers believed, briefly, that the invasion might be stopped. But the Allied numbers were overwhelming. Each destroyed landing craft was followed by 3 more. Each fallen unit was replaced immediately. For the German defenders, it felt like fighting a force that did not bleed. The Atlantic Wall had been Hitler's great defensive promise, a barrier that would make invasion impossible. But on D-Day, its weaknesses were exposed mercilessly. Many bunkers were unfinished. Some lacked proper ammunition supplies. Minefields were incomplete or incorrectly placed due to rushed construction. Worse still, Allied air superiority crushed German mobility. Any attempt to move reinforcements during daylight was suicidal. German trucks were destroyed from the air. Rail lines were bombed relentlessly. Command vehicles never reached their destinations. Communication collapsed. Officers issued orders that could not be delivered. Units fought in isolation, unaware of what was happening just kilometers away. Rommel returned to Normandy to find the situation already slipping out of control. He had long argued that the invasion must be destroyed at the shoreline before Allied forces could dig in. Now it was too late. Allied troops were pushing inland. Temporary beachheads were turning into permanent footholds. German soldiers understood something that orders would never admit. The invasion could not be undone. Morale began to crack, not from cowardice, but from clarity. This was no longer a battle to win, it was a battle to survive. By the evening of June 6, 1944, the truth became unavoidable. Normandy was lost. German commanders waited anxiously for news of the supposed second invasion at Pas-de-Calais. It never came. The deception had worked perfectly. D-Day, from the German perspective, was not simply a defeat, it was a revelation. The illusion of control vanished. Confidence in leadership weakened sharply. Orders from Berlin sounded disconnected from reality on the ground. Many officers privately acknowledged what could not be spoken aloud. Germany could no longer win the war. The Western Front was now open. Resources were divided, and in the east, the Red Army was advancing relentlessly. D-Day marked the moment when Germany's strategic position collapsed permanently. Not in a single dramatic surrender, not in a sudden defeat, but in a slow, irreversible unraveling. For the German soldier who survived that day, the war changed forever. Hope became endurance, victory became survival, and history had taken a decisive turn. In the days after June 6th, German commanders faced a desperate challenge: contain the invasion before it became unstoppable. Orders from Berlin demanded immediate counterattacks. Maps were redrawn daily. Plans were rewritten again and again. But reality on the ground refused to obey. German units arriving at the front were exhausted before they even fought. Allied aircraft dominated the skies. Any movement during daylight meant destruction. Entire battalions were forced to move only at night, hiding under trees and hedgerows. Supplies ran low. Ammunition was rationed. Fuel became more precious than manpower. For German soldiers, Normandy was no longer a front. It was a trap slowly closing. Each failed counterattack confirmed a growing fear. The Allies were not just holding the beaches, they were building an army inside France. As the situation worsened, the gap between German field commanders and Berlin widened dangerously. Local officers requested flexible retreats. They asked for regrouping. They asked for realism. Berlin responded with rigid orders. Hitler demanded positions be held to the last man. Maps in headquarters still showed neat defensive lines, even as those lines no longer existed. German generals found themselves fighting two wars, one against the Allies and one against impossible commands from above. Trust eroded quickly. Field commanders began making silent decisions, delaying orders, bending instructions, sometimes ignoring them entirely. This breakdown of command was invisible to the outside world, but inside the German army, it was catastrophic. An army can survive defeat. It cannot survive confusion at the top. In the days after June 6th, German commanders faced a desperate challenge: contain the invasion before it became unstoppable. Orders from Berlin demanded immediate counterattacks. Maps were redrawn daily. Plans were rewritten again and again. but reality on the ground refused to obey. German units arriving at the front were exhausted before they even fought. Allied aircraft dominated the skies. Any movement during daylight meant destruction. Entire battalions were forced to move only at night, hiding under trees and hedgerows. Supplies ran low. Ammunition was rationed. Fuel became more precious than manpower. For German soldiers, Normandy was no longer a front. It was a trap slowly closing. Each failed counterattack confirmed a growing fear. The Allies were not just holding the beaches, they were building an army inside France. As the situation worsened, the gap between German field commanders and Berlin widened dangerously. Local officers requested flexible retreats. They asked for regrouping. They asked for realism. Berlin responded with rigid orders. Hitler demanded positions be held to the last man. Maps in headquarters still showed neat defensive lines, even as those lines no longer existed. German generals found themselves fighting two wars, one against the Allies and one against impossible commands from above. Trust eroded quickly. Field commanders began making silent decisions, delaying orders, bending instructions, sometimes ignoring them entirely. This breakdown of command was invisible to the outside world, but inside the German army, it was catastrophic. An army can survive defeat. It cannot survive confusion at the top. For the average German soldier, ideology meant little by now. What mattered was survival. Normandy's hedgerows turned every step into danger. Allied artillery struck without warning. Snipers hid everywhere. Sleep came in minutes, not hours. Food was cold, scarce, and irregular. Medical evacuation was nearly impossible. Letters home stopped speaking of victory. They spoke of exhaustion, of uncertainty, of waiting. Many soldiers realized something grim. Even if they survived Normandy, the war itself might never end for them. D-Day had shattered not just defenses, but belief. The belief that the war was controlled. The belief that leaders knew what they were doing. The belief that sacrifice still had purpose.